All right. All right, calling to order Historic Landmarks Commission, September 27th, 2023. All right, so let's start with a roll call.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call. Chair Grumbine,
Present?
Vice Chair House,
Mostly here.
Commissioner Butler,
Here.
Commissioner Dorden,
Here.
Commissioner Drury,
Here.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Here.
Commissioner Lundvik,
Here.
Commissioner McClure is absent, and Commissioner Uli is absent right now as well. We have quorum. Thank you.
All right, on to item A, public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission on items that are not on the agenda for up to 2 minutes. Anyone in the audience wanting to address public comment not on, okay, not seeing any? To
Thank-
virtual?
To virtual, looks like we do not have any virtual participants right now. So I'll just state that we did receive general public comment written correspondence from Scott Wenz and Paulina Kahn, which was distributed to the commission prior to the meeting. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you. On to item B, approval of the minutes of Historic Landmarks Commission, September 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Drury, second by Vice Chair House. Under discussion, any edits?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Drury.
on page 6, under the item number 4, just change, into the motion number 1, just change
Hold on
the,
just 1 second. If they're scrolling to it. Okay,
Oh.
go for it.
the commission compliments, not compliments.
L.I.
Yes, C-O-M-P-L-I,
Oh.
compliments.
All right,
That's all I have. And that's important.
I'm glad you read them.
You betcha.
Just came from France.
Get along
I am
trip.
from France.
Any other edits? All good? Okay, with those edits, we have a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Dorden,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Aye.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lundvik,
Here.
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
and Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. On to item C, approval of the consent calendar, September 27th, 2023. To staff.
So moved.
Oh, yes, sorry. We'll start with the motion in a second. We got a motion? Someone want to second it?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Butler. All right. To staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, 1242 Dover Lane, received project design approval and final approval as submitted. Item B, 493 West Mountain Drive, received final approval as submitted. Item C, East Cabrillo Boulevard, received project design approval and final approval as submitted. Item D, 256 Eucalyptus Hill Drive, the report was accepted as submitted, and the project received approval of review after final as submitted. Item E was 422 East Padre Street, which received project design approval and final approval as submitted. And item F was 113 Harbor Way, number 190, which received project design approval and final approval as submitted.
Wow, a full and fully approved.
Mr. Chair, I want you to
Yes,
know I
Vice Chair.
got through 6 agenda items in 40 minutes.
How come you can't do that during these meetings?
How come you can't do that?
You must not have had anything to say, right? No comments?
Or no commenters? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Why don't we have a roll call vote for approval of the consent calendar?
Thank you. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Drury,
Aye.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lundvik,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorden,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
and Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. On to item D, announcements, requests by applicants for continuances, withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Ellen Kokenda, Design Review Supervisor. I just want to acknowledge at the most recent HLC meeting, there are some requests for different meeting topics and regarding State Street, the interim plan, and the master plan, and I am working on a communication to the HLC with the city attorney's office and other city leadership just to coordinate on that response. So you should be receiving that from me shortly, so in the next day or so. So I just want to acknowledge it here. We'll have some updates for you, and I just want to remind the committee as we do subcommittee reports, this is kind of a little bit separate from this, but I just want to remind everybody, we really need to just do the report outs and really avoid getting into discussion of items, just because these items aren't necessarily agendized. It's really just meant to report out on subcommittees, but look forward to being able to send you all updates based on some of your requests.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. All right, other announcements, requests by applicants, et cetera? Okay.
Oh,
See, you're-
Chair,
Yes.
Chair Gorman, could I just have a follow-up question to that, Ms. Kokinda? How do we, I think the intent was, which was in the minutes, for there to be a way for this commission to be able to talk about these various, with our liaison, so that the liaison is informed from the commission to be able to speak to the issue when they go to the meeting. So how are we able to do that?
So, Mr. Chair, through you to Commissioner Ensberg, so that's what we'll be addressing and what I'm trying to get a response, because because there are multiple parts to the request, so I don't think what the request to discuss it, there was anything wrong with that. I just know that it wasn't just the last meeting, I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with that, but it's more of just a general, like, I wasn't here for the last meeting, so unfortunately, I wasn't here to really be able to respond to anything. But this is just for future, because I know that some of these subcommittee, these are big topics, and so it's more just a general reminder. But again, I don't necessarily think anything wrong happened at the last meeting based on, it's an appropriate request to say for the commission to bring up something that either is a discussion item or request to add something to an agenda is a consideration for staff to go back and look into. So again, we'll be able to respond, but I don't think that there was anything wrong with that particular request.
Good. The whole reason that we were asking was because, to be timely, because we understand that the master plan is working for a completion by the end of this year, and then go to council, and we want to be on top of it, and we want to be sure that we're present and have given proper input so that we can help do our job, so that
Right.
we can do our
Right.
job for them. So that was why, so I'm hoping that this doesn't
So,
take a long
And
time.
actually, and not as a discussion, but as a request, not having seen yet what we're going to get from staff and the city attorney, at least as a, and I can follow up later as a, actually, I'll start with, well, I'll roll it into a question after, but I think it'd be good to, at least for right now, as a potentially hold a thought for next HLC meeting to discuss it as an item, even if it's just 15 minutes. Not, now, I haven't seen what they're going to prepare, so I might modify that via email later. But I would say, let's at least get something so that we don't, in 2 weeks, aren't in the same position where then we're asking for something and now we've lost a month in
Right.
terms of discussion.
And I understand the request, and it was very clear in the minutes as well, and looking back at the video. So I will, like I said, I'll be
Yeah,
responding to
we'll
the full
we'll see
HLC.
more soon, but in the meantime, I just want to at least temporarily hold our place for 2 weeks out to have a discussion on this in some way, shape, or form, and we can modify it as, depending on what we get from the.
That sounds
from
good.
everything. Okay, great. And then, so then the question I want to roll into from that was just in terms of procedural, what is for calling an item for discussion, how does that, can any member of the commission call for an item for discussion and have it agendized?
So that's a really good question, and I can probably provide some limited input on that in terms of, the city attorney might have different opinion or maybe a more nuanced opinion. I mean, there can certainly be lots of things that can be requested to look into, but in terms of, I think it's kind of up to staff to go back and then be able to verify kind of how does this fit in? Does it fall within the purview of the HLC? Is it, is it related to something else? Not necessarily, if there are topics that are relevant, that are kind of meant for one of our subcommittees, there's just a whole host of things. It doesn't hurt to ask, and then it's really kind of falls upon staff to be able to respond to that particular interest. But generally, I mean, it comes up in preliminary matters, and we try to be responsive when there's something that comes up. So it's a little bit of a generic answer, and it just really depends on the subject matter. And but I don't see why any, I think we just have to realize that the kind of as you consider requests, please keep in mind that we've got development projects coming
for
through.
sure.
So, and we've got a list of city priorities that are set by city council that, we have certain direction and things that we have to follow. So oftentimes our response might be based on, okay, what direction has city council given us? What is HLC's purview? What is our staff capacity? So that's really, again, kind of the broad item of how I would look at this. But
Okay. So,
but
and-
yeah,
and-
we just
and
have
I
to
don't-
prioritize. I'm constantly thinking about prioritizing development projects as we have to be responsive to our applicants and kind of know that we have limited time based on certain things. And when we do have time, we accommodate those, HLC discussions and topics and trainings and a whole host of things that have come up when board members have said, oh, I really could use a training in this, or we have something over here. So it really runs the gamut.
Sure, and it makes sense that the more intensive something is, the more time it takes to prepare stuff, the more it needs to be a serious thing or fits within the schedule or those types of things. So, and
Correct.
definitely for the resource things. If you wouldn't mind looking into more and getting back to me on it, on terms of just the discussion items without prep or presentation, what are the general principles for that as well? And yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot for it as well,
No,
but it came
it's
up
a
as
logical question.
as part of all this because there's a lot many more moving parts quickly now, which normally we have, years, decades to think about things. So
Mr. Chair?
All right.
Regarding that item, what I hear staff saying, to me, almost says that Landmarks Commission, and therefore I suppose ABR or Planning Commission, any of them, don't really have any control over their own agenda and what they want to discuss or not discuss. That we are merely here to facilitate staff's needs as it applies to applicants coming before us for approval, disapproval, whatever. And I would hope that your request is that we have a little more authority regarding our work. Whether or not it was good, bad, or indifferent, I was certainly interested in what the chair of the Planning Commission did several weeks ago regarding, I assume, taking the city council to task regarding housing, but you could just as easily be taking the staff to task for the information they receive or don't receive or whatever. And I think it's important that we, being a charter commission, have more control over our agenda and what we need to discuss to make our work better and more efficient. So I appreciate your taking that.
thank you. Okay, so to be continued. All right, other announcements, et cetera? Okay. On to subcommittee reports. Subcommittees.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Doherty.
the designation subcommittee met yesterday to consider three recommendations for single-family homes to be designated structures of merit. The results of our deliberations will come to the full HLC.
Great, thank you.
I'll report on the State Street Advisory Committee. I think, number one, I think it's important that all of us be aware of what the city council did yesterday and last night over a grueling session, but they did reach some conclusions, and I think it's important that we understand what's going on from the standpoint of State Street Advisory Committee's involvement. We have not met since October 23rd, no, since September 6th. And our next and that meeting was to receive input from Transportation Department and others regarding the mobility issues on State Street. We are to receive feedback by way of either design sketches, whatever, programming information, whatever, on October 23rd, and whether or not we see any pretty picture plans regarding how they intend to advance mobility, I don't know. We'll simply have to find out. And it's one of the mysteries with regard to the State Street Advisory Committee is that, irregardless, if that's a word,
It's not, but go ahead.
regardless of,
You can invent it now.
yeah, regardless of what City Council said last night, and I thank them for that, some of the council members really believe that State Street Advisory Committee has valuable input to offer to the promenade, and I certainly want to make sure that we do get that opportunity, but I'm not sure when it's going to happen right now. But anyway, our next meeting is October 23rd, so getting a report from staff regarding your questions about State Street, whatever, has to happen at our next meeting, which is October 11th, because there is no meeting before the October 23rd meeting. So we've got to have any feedback that you expect to get from staff, or we expect to get from staff, at the next meeting, if at all possible.
And time for a discussion item on it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Chair Grumbine.
Yes, Commissioner.
When will the agenda be issued? So we will know what's on?
Generally, we don't see an agenda on a meeting scheduled more than maybe 4 or 5 days before. I mean, I forget what the 11th is. It may be a Monday. So we wouldn't see an agenda before Thursday or Friday before. The agendas are so brief that you can't look at them and say, I'm interested in that issue. And whether or not there's going to be design drawings coming out of MIG and the staff for that October 23rd meeting, I don't know. They could simply pop up on the day of the meeting, pretty, large boards, so on and so forth, for discussion. They generally don't do that. They generally have, a PowerPoint presentation that they issue with the agenda. But I don't know when that'll happen. And I don't really know. I mean, if you were to ask me, Ed, what are the next steps before the end of the year? What are we going to see happen? I can't tell you. Now, maybe I'm not paying attention, which is entirely possible.
So I guess maybe that could be part of what you bring for the
Yeah, yeah.
October 11th.
I mean, I'm not even
HLC
sure that the
discussion
dates, I'm not even sure that the dates after October
have been locked in.
have been locked in.
Yeah.
There's,
Okay. But even as a big picture, like what is the trajectory? Like that
it'd be
that
nice
could
to,
be a nice.
it'd be nice to know.
Which I think there is something out there, but it might be moving. Okay. Any other subcommittee reports? All right.
Well, Chair Grumbine, did you want to report about the,
Oh, yeah. This is the time
yeah.
to, for sure. Well, if you want, you can give it a shot.
okay, I'll try. We have we have a subcommittee with the State Street Interim. The State Street Interim, I believe is what it's called. And Chair Grumbine and myself and Commissioner McClure are part of this group that's trying to be available and work together with the State Street Interim Committee as things move forward to be inclusive.
And that's, to be clear, that's staff. it's basically
Staff,
working with
yes,
various
staff.
staff, transportation, others,
Right.
development, yeah.
So as these experiment, future or experiments that are being considered to do moving along, that then HLC would be involved in helping to guide those things. So we had a meeting, I think our second meeting was Monday. Monday. So I think it was a good meeting, and we had, a good discussion, and trying to keep the lines of communication open and be, again, as helpful and available as we can to do the work that we're supposed to be doing.
So, and then along those lines, part of was really talking about the overall big picture, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, how things, what we might be targeting for things to roll out, but part of our homework is going to be also pulling specs together for good tables, chairs, et cetera, like good standards that are simple, easy to do, and so if any of those things that are all the State Street stuff, from planters to those things that any of you all want to shoot pictures to us or whatever, or get information on and shoot it over, that would be very great and helpful. We're doing that as well, but it would be more hands make light work. So-
Yes. So if you see a particularly great example of something, of a outdoor dining, outdoor patio with patio furniture, that would be great. Snap off a picture and send it to us, because we can feed that to them and help guide.
Yeah.
Regarding that, one of the issues that the council kind of was having trouble with, they want to see shuttles back on State Street, but they don't know what they should look like. I mean, they're advocating right now, the shuttle bus that was on State Street before the pandemic shut it down, but there probably are a lot of other options that can work on State Street that would fit in with pedestrians and bikes, as well. The shuttle's not going to run, every 15 minutes up and down, or every 10 minutes up and down. It's going to be a lot of gaps there which will allow pedestrians and bikes to move through. But I think that they would like to see examples of shuttle systems that are smaller, more mobile, interesting sounding horn to get people out of their way or whatever.
Well, and also accessible.
Yeah, and accessible, they gotta be
Because
accessible,
that's,
yes,
it's hard to get the
And
equipment.
they're very much aware of
And
that.
that
yeah.
was one of the examples and topics that from staff, that's going, and
Yeah.
we're trying to also help with input on things like, divisions of lanes,
Yep,
bike
yep,
lanes and that.
yep.
Trying to work with things that are aesthetic and also reasonable price and can potentially become a long-term, what's it called, standard as well. So,
Yeah.
or at least take a look at it and kick the tires on it by everyone, so.
Good.
All right, anything else, subcommittees? Otherwise, we will jump to, looks like none, so let's go on to item 1, archaeology report. We are 7 minutes late, but we are catching up. Okay, so this is for 20 East De La Guerra Street, De La Guerra Plaza, located in EPV and listed on the city's historic resources inventory. The De La Guerra Plaza revitalization project proposes to raise the entire plaza as well as De La Guerra Street between Anacapa and State to be level with the existing sidewalk and install new landscaping, water feature, restrooms, pavilion, stage, art nodes, lighting, and trash recycling. The 2011 Historic Structure Sites Report accepted by HLC found that De La Guerra Plaza is eligible for designation as a City of Santa Barbara landmark, listing it on the California Register of Historical Places and the National Register of Historic Places. Surrounding De La Guerra Plaza are City Hall and California Pepper Tree, the News Press Building, Casa de la Guerra, and El Paseo, all designated city landmarks, and the La Placida Building, aka McKay Bothan Building, that is a designated structure of merit. They're requesting acceptance of a Phase 3 archaeological data recovery work plan prepared by Applied Earthworks. The report has been reviewed by Dr. Glassow, who agrees with its conclusions and recommendations. All right, welcome. So if you could introduce yourselves for the record.
My name is Brad Hess, Principal Project Manager for the city. And with me, I have Colleen Hamilton from Applied Earthworks to answer any questions.
Great. And if you wouldn't mind, if just sort of going through your quick conclusions and the plan, sort of a summary of.
Sure. And here's another mic that's already turned on for you, if
there
you'd
we
like
go.
to use that, if that's easier.
Thank you. Okay, so we have done previous testing, in the plaza area and identified archaeological deposits there. They date to the early 1800s. There's also remnants of Old City Hall present, although those are not considered resources that are likely to give us more information unless something in the form of related archaeological artifact-filled deposits are found. To date, we haven't found those. The project plans we have reviewed, and they indicate that excavations will occur between 6 inches and 3 feet. And that certainly is within the area of which we found archaeological remains. We have dated those deposits based on artifacts that were present and other material remains, including a midden that contains animal bone and a shell and the usual type of dietary range of artifacts. We feel like this is a really early deposit for Santa Barbara, that it is probably associated with the adobes that surrounded the plaza area, and that therefore it is a significant find. So we've worked closely with Brad and the planners to develop a strategy to recover remains prior to actual construction. We'll begin by working in the plaza area and removing surface materials in order to expose and define the limits of what's there. Then we will work closely with the city staff to define what needs to be removed and what can be protected in place.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
For once, an archaeological report with something.
Oh, good.
All right, if that completes your summary, we'll go to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to address the archaeology report, please come forward. All right, not seeing anyone, go to virtual.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. Turning to virtual, if anyone participating on Zoom would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand and we can call on you. Not seeing any raised hands, we did receive written correspondence from Paulina Kahn, which was distributed to the commission prior to the meeting. With that, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, to the commission for any questions?
Mr. Chair?
This is Commissioner Drury.
So in the midden that you described as being fairly important, are there any tools? Stone tools or?
There was not much recovered in the way of Native American remains, if
There's
that's
some ceramics from a British,
British ceramics.
Yeah.
There was, I believe, some brownware, mission brownware, and that can be identified as having been made by Native groups. But for the most part, it's also known to have been made in early communities.
so there's no suggestion that you could go further down and find Chumash artifacts?
No, we took our excavations down to 3 feet to the bottom of the midden deposit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, other questions?
I have a question. You didn't do any exploratory work along La Placita towards State Street. And that will be part of the De La Guerra Plaza renewal. And there's no reference at all that I saw in there. Is there anything that you should say about the Placita?
Yeah, I will say that the excavations were limited to the plaza area that is grassy and was accessible.
I see.
because frequently, well, we were not able to get below the hardscape to do any analysis. But part of our work plan is a strategy of monitoring the work that will occur in areas where hardscape exists. And then we will evaluate what is there. Amongst the work that we've done here in Santa Barbara, we have done monitoring of removal of hardscape and identified deposits. But in these particular areas, those were not accessible. So that is part of the assessment plan.
Do you think it would be worthwhile, someplace in your document to mention the placita? Simply as part of the De La Guerra Plaza improvement plans.
We certainly could call that out, yes.
I think it might be worthwhile.
Okay,
I have no problem with that.
okay. So with the addition of the placita noted, okay?
Yes, Chair Grumbine, I have a question. Thank you for that. Do you, so you went down, what determined the 3 feet? What is the depth, I guess, of the anticipated excavation of the work itself? Is it, when the proposed work is being done, how far down are you going? If that's something you can know or answer.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the proposed work, not, so I'm assuming that the proposed work obviously influences the areas that you study. So, but what I was curious is 3 feet the maximum depth of any excavation that's going to happen for the proposed work?
No, it's variable across the project. Some depths will go deeper than that. If we haven't tested in those areas, we will be monitoring in those areas. Most of those excavations tend, again, to be in the streets or below hardscape. Those are areas where trash receptacles will be installed, where bollards require a deeper excavation. Our testing was focused on the plaza area, and so we took our excavations to the full depth of the deposit. So we got below into sterile soil. So we have a real sense of how deep the deposits go in that area, but not below hardscape. So one of the construction issues we have frequently found that have to be taken in consideration is if you've got a lot of rubble, unconsolidated construction debris, that is not a good foundation for building above. You know, it doesn't allow for the kinds of earthquake requirements, seismic requirements for construction. So that's where we will be working closely with the city to determine what can be protected in place and what has to be removed in order to achieve the construction plans. So the limits of our excavation will depend on the depth of the deposits, but also on construction considerations as well. Does that answer your question?
More or less, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, any other questions? All right, discussion and a motion?
I have a comment.
Okay,
I
comment.
would like to call your attention to a typo, which I think is on the top of page 9, if we can display that.
I don't know, we,
These are,
Okay.
Chair Grunbein, these
Okay.
are confidential documents
Right,
that they're not
okay.
shared with the public, so we won't be bringing that up.
I already know where that typo is,
All right, the 1975 instead of
Yes.
1875.
and I've
Okay.
highlighted it on my copy.
all right, thank you.
I also have maybe a typo
Okay,
on secret page 14.
Okay.
The sentence reads, water closet depicted on the Sanborn insurance maps that date after 1874, when City Hall was opened, was not relocated. I think you mean it was not located. Is that true?
Yes,
Yeah, so it's not relocated, you did not locate it.
we did not locate
So
it.
that's a typo as well.
okay.
I will make a note of that as well.
Ambiguous, at least.
All right. Any other typos or?
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to accept the report.
Do you want it as submitted or with the addition of the?
With those corrections.
And the Stork Placida addition?
Yes.
Okay, sound good, all right. Second by Commissioner Butler. All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes,
Commissioner Drury,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
and Chair Grumpy.
Aye,
Motion passes. Thank you.
all right, thank you. All right,
So staff, this is a secret document.
it will self-destruct.
And that means that
10
if
seconds.
it's on here, when I lose my lap pad, Hunter Biden will find it and be aware of what's going on, right?
Off topic. Yeah, these are not public documents.
I'll erase it
Just
then.
to, because given the type of resources. So even if it's not for you, I'll just let the public know that there's, these are, we don't
Sure.
necessarily want to disclose where there are archaeological resources.
Sure.
And that's why they're confidential or not public.
Hunter Biden will find that.
All right, so on from our secret document to not so secret documents. Revised project design approval. This is item number 2, 630 Chapala Street, 17 West Ortega Street, and 25 West Ortega Street. Located in EPV, they're all designated structures of merit. This is a revised project description, proposal for a new 3- and 4-story mixed-use development. Oh, sorry, project, I shouldn't have summarized so quickly. Project is adjacent to 17 West Ortega Street, 9 through 15 West Ortega Street, and 614 Chapala Street, all designated structures of merit. The buildings themselves are not. This is a revised project description, proposal for a new 3- and 4-story mixed-use development. The proposal is for construction of a new 3- and 4-story mixed-use development. I already read that. All existing buildings will be demolished. The project includes 10,100 square feet of commercial space, 29,900 square feet of residential space, consisting of 39 rental units proposed under the AUD incentive program. A voluntary lot merger between 630 Chapala Street and 25 West Ortega Street is proposed, as well as ingress egress easement with 17 West Ortega Street in order to evaluate or effectuate the proposed easement. The demolition of a 1,100 square foot storage building on 17 West Ortega Street is also requested. The existing sandstone wall separating 25 West Ortega Street and 17 West Ortega Street would be reconstructed as a privacy wall along the south property line. The proposed density on the 27,492 square foot merged site is 63 dwelling units per acre. The Planning Commission approved a community benefit height exception on August 12th, 2021 to allow the project to exceed 48 feet in height, 50 foot, 11 inches proposed. Project design approval is requested. Project compatibility findings are required. The project was last reviewed August 16th, 2023. And if we can go to the minutes there, welcome. If you want to introduce yourselves for the record, and then I'll read the minutes, and then we can do your presentation.
Okay, Tommy, the architect. Al Windsor, architect.
Oh, you're going to probably need to turn on that. Yeah, there we go. Oh, one
Maybe it
more.
was
There we go.
It was on?
No, he hit it off on the pass through. Yeah, go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah, all right.
As long as the light's on, it's on.
Okay, Al Windsor, architect.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Okay, so, and from last time, it was, a motion was continue indefinitely with the following comments. The commission appreciates the thorough study of block buildings and the architectural rigor that the applicant has come up with to try to make the design fit in the mid-block structures of historic Santa Barbara. 2, corrugated metal is not appropriate in EPV material and will need to be changed. 3, restudy the facade to make the structural grid less rigorous and obvious. 4, in general, the mass, bulk, and scale are acceptable. 5, study ways of softening the building, including using canopies, fabrics, tile, and color to make the facade less harsh. 6, the commission appreciates pulling back from property line, and the motion was by House, the second was by Drury, 702. Lenvick and McClure abstained. Motion carried. All right. So with that, why don't you all walk through your new proposal and tell us how you also answered our comments.
Great. So just as a brief overview, so these are the photographs of the site, and specifically what we're calling Building 3, which is the rebuild of the surface building, which is depicted in the top photos in the middle there. So that's just kind of our point of reference. And this viewpoint right here is what we're kind of using as our base view in terms of how we're studying the elevation and how we're studying the elevations. Should I start over?
Very quickly.
Yes. Okay, so then right now, we're going to pull up an exhibit that basically shows the elevation we presented last time versus what we're proposing, just so we can kind of run through the revisions we've made. So that top elevation was the original, and basically what was driving it was this 2-foot structural grid that was being expressed on the elevation, and that was really dictating the size, shape, and configuration of our doors and windows. So based on the comments you have made, we've revised that. So if you want to pull up, can we get them both side by side? There we go. So starting from like the bottom level up, what we've done is I've reduced the 10-foot opening module down to 9 feet, which means the resultant 2-foot column now goes to 3 feet, which was a comment made by the board. I really like the comment about introducing some tile underneath the panels of the windows, because what it does for me, it reinforces the simple geometry that's kind of anchoring the base elevation. And for me, that simple geometry kind of echoes the arcade that we've done on building 1 and 2 on Ortega Street. So I kind of like the consistency of that as a base for this elevation. And then up above it, I reduced the width of the windows from 10 feet to 7.6. So the 7.6 opening stacks over 9. So it's not a strong vertical column between those openings, and the fact that it's narrower, it varies the distance between fenestration, where in the top elevation, we're trying to keep that separation consistent and rigid. So we've added some canopies over the windows in the bedrooms to add some color and relief. And then in the deep recesses, the deep recess balcony, I've kept those widths at 9 feet, whereas the windows have gone down to 7.6, because those are the main openings into the living areas, and I didn't want to constrict that anymore. But what we've done is we've varied the detailing on the 2 floors above the lower level. We've got a flush balcony on level 2, and then level 3, we've got a projecting balcony with some canvas curtains, just to vary the detailing of those openings. And then the top right, we have the opportunity of putting the egress window around the corner, so we could add some poetry up there if we wanted to. I was showing a couple windows in that location. Now, if somebody sees a face in the elevation, we can easily modify that. But and then on the top left corner, I basically said, let's just let this corner balcony be a corner balcony. So I kind of broke away from any sort of center lines and geometry and let the deck wrap around the corner. I reduced the size of the opening. I slimmed down the column a bit. I added a little plaster grill. So just let that element be a corner element, not really tied into the geometry so much. And then on the top floor, I reduced the size of the openings per the comments before. So we have a thicker corner condition than we had originally, so it's less of a contemporary application. So those are the responses we've had from the earlier comments. I think it's definitely responding to the comments made, and I think it's definitely a much more successful Spanish colonial interpretation.
Okay. Do you want to walk through any other?
Yeah, you want to show the other elevations or the other model views?
Mm-hmm.
So that shows it from the Sonos property. Why don't you go back and just take a deep breath? There you go. So it shows it in context with Building 2 and what we call Building 2 and Building 4. And there's the stone wall that we're rebuilding that's going to go across the Sonos parking lot. Then you want to go to the other ones. The other ones don't really show much because it's basically tucked back from the street. You see little glimpses of it from the alleyway from Macy's building and then further down the street.
Some very purple jacarandas there.
In full bloom. And there's a view from Chapala looking down towards the building. And I like the fact that the massing is different from the rest of the project. I want it to feel like it's a different building with simpler massing. I think it definitely does that. So those are the revisions that we've made.
All right. Okay, so does that complete your presentation?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, we'll go to public comment. Any member of the public in the room wishing to comment on this item, you go fill out a speaker slip and turn it in. Anyone in the room wishing to comment? All right, seeing none, we can go to virtual.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. Turning to virtual, if there's any participants on Zoom who would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand and we can call on you. Not seeing any raised hands, and we did not receive any written correspondence, so I'll turn it back to the commission.
All right. The commission, questions?
Chair Grunbein?
Yes, Commissioner
I have a-
Ensberg.
I have a couple.
Okay.
I'll save my comments, just ask
Yeah,
some questions
questions.
now. But, so the window frame colors, what are you thinking about that?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts you want to share?
I have none.
Okay. All right.
You
And
have
then,
something bluish. Is that just matching the current?
It'll be something different than what the other buildings are.
okay.
Okay.
And then it looks to me from before, is your intention to have the, excuse me, the stucco be the same color as the other building?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Before it was different, now it's like,
Whiter?
yeah, it's going to match.
Yeah, okay. And then the windows themselves, the glass, it looks black here. Is it going to be, what is it going to be?
The frame colors?
No, the glass itself. What kind of
Looks like
glass?
they're tinted.
Yeah,
No, it'll just be standard glass.
like a clear?
I
Okay,
don't think it can be tinted in
okay, good question then.
PV. It's not mirrored.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I have
Sure.
several questions.
All right.
Chair.
Fire away.
Have you determined where the fire sprinkler double check valve location is going to be yet?
I know we're working on it right now with our plumbing consultant.
It'll be a concern of ours
Yeah.
if we see this again. The other question I have is, do you know now how you are, or where the venting for the restrooms and the kitchen hoods and such are going?
We're working on that right now. We have some flat roof sections on tops of buildings 1, 2, and 3, actually, where we've got those things
Okay.
positioned.
Yeah,
right.
we're not interested in seeing them come through the building walls.
No, right.
Okay.
Was that a question?
That was a question I had.
No, just the last part. Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Butler.
Is there prospect or the opportunity for solar on the rooftops?
We have a lot of solar. Yeah, we've actually added some from our initial applications. We've got a lot of solar. Every building's got it. Do we have a roof plan on here?
Yeah.
And once we've got the flat roof section populated with equipment, if there's space left over, we'll put solar up there as well.
Sorry, I'm missing where the solar is.
It's
on
the gray sections.
Oh, but on the new building?
Well, right now, we're showing a flat roof up there. Like I say, we're working with our mechanical consultants right now, and they're putting a lot of
So
equipment
it
up.
will go on that flat roof?
If there's space left over, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right. Any other? Yeah. And if it cannot be there, that's always good.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, let's roll into comments. Who wants to kick us off?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Dury.
Yes, I was sort of fearful of that building as presented last time. And it's completely changed. It has an airy feel to it because you made the windows narrower instead of it being like institutional. It's very successful, and I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Grunbein?
Yeah, Commissioner Ensberg.
So I guess you can add to your resume, poet. I think it's really great. I really think you did a good job, and I think it's perfect. I really like the, I would like to see maybe some, they don't have to be striped, but maybe a little bit brighter awning, maybe the color could be a little bit more. And I like that you're making this building different than the other building, so maybe the colors don't have to, be the same, whatever. So I just want to, acknowledge you and thank you, and I love the corner light up there. Looks like you have is that, or am I seeing, yeah, here. Is there a corner, or maybe I'm seeing something that isn't there?
I mean, I love corner lights. If there's
Oh.
a place for it, I would add
Maybe
it.
up there on the upper left where you've made that,
Scupper.
The balcony,
the
the
balcony
wraparound?
thing. I thought it was. I was like, oh, I love that. And I also like I think very successful is how you've dealt with the first floor and the columns, if you will, between. I think that's very, very effective. And I think that's all. I think you did oh, and I also really like how you added the 2 little windows over there. It's just really great. So thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, other comments?
I have,
Commissioner
Mr.
Lennox?
Chair, I have a couple of comments. The mounting height of the awnings, in my opinion, is too high. They're not traditional. You've drawn the bottom of the flaunce at the head height, and it's convenient to draw that way as opposed to having the awning down below the head height. But if you can drop those awnings down, they will offer you more protection. They will also fit in better on the elevation, I believe. So I think all the awnings should be dropped down. I've been told you can't go under 7 foot, 6'8", whatever.
6'8", probably.
On a balcony because of handicap issues, but you can certainly, I'm sure those windows are probably 7 foot high or 8 foot high, probably, and so you can get those down, it'll feel better. The other concern I have, or thoughts that you may want to think about, is the fact that the drapes that I see on a number of locations, really a nice treat. They are, however, hanging, wish I could find them again. They're hanging off the molding in a number of instances. Well, there on the north elevation, Ortega Street, those drapes are hanging.
If you can go, to the elevations.
Yeah,
On this building or a different building?
Different building.
Okay.
yeah,
I think it's the front building. One of the front buildings.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
yes. You see,
Yeah.
the drapes are hanging off the molding, and I'm not sure that's good. Mr. Uli has done this in the courthouse a number of times, and he may have some ideas.
There's no molding where I hung them.
I understand. But if they could be down lower than the bottom of the molding, it would certainly, I think,
It's a good point.
respect whatever we want to respect.
And the molding reads through.
And the molding should read on through, exactly, yes.
Okay. Other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair House.
I have to somewhat disagree with the comment about the awning height, because I was appreciating that it reduced the forehead of plaster over the windows, and so perhaps the top of the awning can stay where it is, and maybe it just comes down further or something like that. But I like that it reduced that plaster forehead and varied.
So what's the rule of thumb in terms of the bottom of the awning versus like the window head height?
I was going to make another comment to disagree with both of them. But I was waiting until the end. But since you're, since your question,
We need an awning.
that there is so I think there's rules of thumbs. And historically you can, because at one point there was a question that came up, and so I started looking at a bunch of historic books and seeing what they did.
Palladio.
No windows either. But I think it's done both ways, but I think, so it is done well above and dropped, down, but it probably had to do with either light or just architect's preference. But it is done both ways in terms of positioning, your connection, your angle, all those things. So, so I would be open for any of those things, but I think it works any of those ways. And to your point, when you have a big plaster wall above, it might be helpful to break that a little bit if there's a massive wall feel, and that's probably why it's done that way sometimes. And then other times when you don't have a lot of space, or you have a cornice that's going across and you're really tight to it, then you don't really have any choice but to kind of really drop down within anyways. So, but I think it's done both ways.
I found out in my years of practice that the guys doing the drawing didn't know how to draw a window behind a awning, so they kept the awnings above.
So you can see the window?
Yeah, they put their cut line, their bubble, there and whatever, and it all worked out fine.
It was just a shortcut for architects.
Yeah, but you got to convince yourself that they belong down a little bit.
I think, and looking at the old photographs, I think you can find good examples of both. And but it's a good point, and so, there you go.
And
Good
there
luck.
you go. Noted.
There's some of us that want striped awnings, right? So, which are also historic, but are frowned upon by some. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so the only comment I would add to that, because I think you've done a wonderful job, the only other comment I would add is, I don't know if the corner, that up top corner condition, it's different, but it doesn't seem different enough. So it's partly, like, so the pier has been skinnied up, but only a bit, like it's, I don't know, 20%, 10%. So but it's still square. And the opening has been pushed over as well and skinnied up, but only like 10 or 20%. So it doesn't read as totally different, it reads as almost the same. So if there's a way of studying that and getting it to either read a little bit more different, or I don't know if the alignment of the windows below stays, or that line stays the same and then just skinnies up the column, and so you have this bigger opening. I don't know what, but something about that is, it seems like that can get a little bit more refinement. That's my thought. I mean, it's still okay and supportable as is, but I think that's the one piece I think that still, in my mind, kind of jumps out as needing a little bit of work. But the other question I had, actually I forgot, or I didn't ask, was at the bottom, bottom floor in the middle, where you have, looks like from the rendering, that's all in the same plane, making that sort of
Yeah.
L-shaped wall. Is that all in the same plane?
We've got that plaster wall that comes out a few feet in front of the building. That's the privacy wall. That was the corrugated wall
that's
before.
what, okay, I'm not realizing.
And so that's the question I have, is whether or not those should be a different material than the plaster. Should they be the sandstone, or should they be black metal, or should they be something other than
Can
plaster?
you go to plan real fast for that, just so I'm making sure I'm understanding what? Plan? Yeah, the plan view. Yeah, because from the renderings, it looked like they were all on one plane, and.
So it's like 3 feet proud of the building with like a 6 or 7 foot deep patio behind it. So
Got
it's like
it.
a 10-foot deep
Okay.
patio at the privacy walls.
So I think now understanding the plan, the rendering looked like it was something different. I think that makes sense to me, because you will, in real life, your eye will definitely read it as different, because it'll be on a different plane and getting a little different light or whatever,
So should it be a different material, or should it be plastic?
I'm actually fine with it plaster. I don't know if what other people feel, but.
I like the stone idea, just because you've got that element going on.
Oh, the stone wall, the other, yeah.
I mean, on that other, the
It's got more warmth
Chapala
to it.
elevation, where there's that stone inside?
Yeah, they're reusing the stone. They're repurposing the one stone wall and building it. Where's if you could show us in site plan or perspective?
Is this one? This wall right here?
Yeah.
Wait,
So
oh,
it stops basically, a good point. The existing wall runs here, and it stops about here, and then makes a right-hand turn and goes out to Ortega. So we're basically taking off that leg of it and continuing it along this line.
So it is right there in terms of, in
Yeah.
fact, it actually was almost in that location. So that might be a cool thing to have.
Chair-
Those two pieces of wall as sandstone?
to
here, this,
The patio walls.
Yeah, and then the wall's right, wall's right in front. The only thing is you definitely need to get some thickness to make them feel real. So, and I don't know how much space you have. And it seems like, though, it doesn't seem like anyone's against having plaster either.
I'm comfortable with plaster. I would be somewhat concerned that you've got a lot of materials going on there. You know, the windows, the metal, the tile, the plaster, you introduce another one, and now it just seems to be too busy, so
Okay.
I'm comfortable with the plaster.
Everyone else, any other?
yes, Chair Grumman, I agree with that. I think you have enough elements already. And
Maybe
you're
like
trying to keep it.
corrugated metal or something.
Mr.
All
Chair,
right.
I'd
Yes,
just
Vice
add my
Chair.
opinion that I think that the sandstone already is in the palette of materials, so I don't see it as introducing something new. And, you know, just low plaster walls are more subject to abuse and scuffing and stuff like that, so the sandstone just looks nice longer.
So it seems that at least, so it seems like you probably would have support both ways.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so that's where things So reading, okay, master or stone. Okay, any other comments before I try to summarize? So this is for project design approval.
Revised project design approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, or just as a project design approval, straight up, yeah.
Yes, for the purposes of this hearing, it's just project design
Yeah.
approval with the same.
It is a revised
project.
project, but they had to just go for a whole new project design approval. Okay, so it's coming for project design approval, so anyone who wanting to make the motion will need to make the findings. But I'll summarize the comments here. First, I think in general, everything was a positive comment. So we thank the applicant for listening to and revising the design to an excellent design, excellent job, and we thank you for doing that. In general, the project is very supportable and ready for project design approval. With the following additional items to continue to be worked out and revised. So one is to identify where the venting is for how the building will be vented, and just show those on either elevation or plan, roof plan. For the awnings and window color to be adjusted, for the awnings to be potentially brighter, and the window colors to be, to come back to with different colors, per the applicant's comment. The corner, and I don't know if all of you agree with my comment about the corner balcony. Okay, so, all right, so the third floor corner balcony to be, opening and balcony to be restudied to be restudied with either making the design stronger and more different than the rest of the bays below, or to align with the bays below. And I think I also heard a suggestion of to look at the use of a corner light, pendant, or some other iron light. Yeah, to add to the poetry with a corner light, potentially at the corner balcony. On the front elevation on Chapala Street, to adjust the drapes to be lower than and respect the plaster molding. And then the comment from the commission for the on the courtyard walls, residence courtyard walls, they are appropriate as either plaster or stone, and they seem to be generally supportable either way. And then, also to come up with a solution for your fire sprinkler check valve, and this appropriate screening. All right, any other comments to add?
Sorry,
Commissioner Hensworth?
yes, I'm embarrassed to say, we didn't look at the side elevation. And I can't remember what it was from before, but could we just took?
Can we go to the perspective that shows that side elevation? Oh, you mean,
The one on the
Side
left
pass.
side where they pulled it back 3 feet from the property line and there.
Which, this elevation?
Is that
or
it?
the-
Yeah,
or
that's
the
it, that's it.
Paseo
No, that's
elevation?
it, right there.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure we
oh, that's a good
looked
point.
at everything.
Yeah, it looked nice, so,
Yeah.
so we didn't make any comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Any other comments? All right, so does someone want to make a motion for project
I'll-
design approval with those?
I'll move to approve this project for design approval with the comments that the chair has listed.
And then do you want to make the findings?
Yep. If I can read it anyway. It is consistent with the design guidelines. It is compatible with the architectural character of city and neighborhood. It's the appropriate size, mass, bulk, height, and scale. It is sensitive to adjacent landmarks and historic resources, being in El Pueblo Viejo. Public views of the ocean and mountains doesn't seem to apply.
And we had already looked at it previously and decided that it was okay.
Yeah, from Chapala side,
Chapala
yeah,
side,
okay.
yeah.
And use of open space and landscaping, that it meets that requirement as well. Are there any more?
No.
5 more.
No, that's it. I think
Okay.
That's it. So we got a motion and we have a second by Commissioner Drury. All right, under discussion. Any discussion? All right, let's have a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Lenbick,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Yes?
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
and Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Nice
gentlemen.
job. Oh, and this is appealable to City Council within 10 days. And now we are officially ahead of time by too much. You guys made it too easy, so.
Colored awnings?
All right, so we are 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think I do.
We gotta wait 5 or no?
So we could theoretically start at this time because it's within that 15-minute mark, but it doesn't look like the applicant team is in the room, so it might be a good idea to recess.
Yeah,
for-
okay. We'll recess for 15 minutes, which will be enough for me to get a coffee. apologize for the extra 3-minute delay. Calling back to order Historic Landmarks Commission, September 27th, 2023. We are on item 3, continued item for project design approval. This is 1801 East Cabrillo Boulevard, located in El Pueblo Viejo. Proposal for exterior alterations to existing buildings as follows. Remove, replace windows and doors, relocate existing retaining wall, new deck, rearrange demising wall, new air conditioning system, restripe, reconfigure existing parking stalls, relocate bicycle parking, expand trash enclosure, and new landing or landscaping. No changes to building square footages or footprints or to the amount of on-site parking spaces are proposed. Project design approval is requested. Project compatibility findings are required. The project was last reviewed on March 15th, 2023.
Motion for PDA. It's
All
not that
right.
easy.
So if we can pull up the minutes from that, March 15th. Okay, so the motion was to continue indefinitely with the following comments. The commission finds this project attractive and the proposed changes are light touch and appropriate. 2, most commissioners support the trellis. 3, explore finding a way to have railings that are less than 42 inches high on the Los Patos frontage. 4, the commission approves of the mortar wash approach on the brick paving. 5, the commission appreciates retaining and protecting the Marge Dunlap fountain. The motion was by Uli, the second was by Drury. Crumbine was absent, the motion carried. And I did watch the video, so I will be voting, yes, and to staff.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Megan Arciniega, project planner. I just wanted to add to the record that some of the improvements that you'll be looking at are within the front setbacks of both Cabrillo Boulevard and Los Patos Way. The applicant received approval of 2 front setback modifications for those improvements. It includes some landscaping, decking, bike parking relocation, windows and doors. So just wanted to report that those were approved. And they are ready for project design approval.
Okay, thank you. All right, so welcome. If you would introduce yourselves for the record, and then you will have 15 minutes to present on the project. Please make sure to tell us anything that's changed since last time and how you answered the various comments.
My name's Joey Miller. It's very nice to see everyone, and thank you guys for the feedback and for taking the time to hear about the project again. We've been hard at work for years, it feels like, but months. But in all seriousness, I think all the feedback's been great. We've been able to incorporate quite a bit of it. I'll sort of take the comments from the bottom up and then let my friend Mick explain in more detail. Number one, the fountain is there to stay. There was never a thought of removing it, and we're happy to, put that in writing, but you'll see in here there's obviously nothing around that. The other issues were, I'll let Mick explain in detail, but I think you'll see a project that is very similar in scope to the original one that we proposed, with some minor modifications, but overall a light touch meant to open up the project, make it more accessible to more people, and especially to enjoy frontage along Los Patos and into the bird refuge. So I wish I had more to say, and I'm here to answer questions, but I'll turn it over to the experts to walk through what I think are the experts to walk through the specific issues. Exactly. And I'll be here to answer questions.
More sensitive than I thought. Michael Unwin with MGMT, we're the owner's rep, project managers. Michael, the architect, is unfortunately here, unfortunately not here today, but we have his colleagues behind us for any technical questions. So maybe I'll walk through the comments from the meeting minutes, and then I can sort of touch on the plans and what's changed from last time. So the first one, as Joey said, we're maintaining the fountain, so no action there. The mortar wash on the brick paving that was presented and discussed last time, I'm actually going to let Courtney speak to that more intelligently than me as we continue to push down the line. And then the 42-inch high railing. So it's to act as 2 two components, I guess. One, there's a pretty significant grade change along this I don't really have a great corner to show, but along this elevation here. So there is a requirement for the hand railing from a safety perspective. Additionally, from a design perspective, there was a desire, if I can zoom in on this somehow, it's a control.
I use your pluses. at the
There we
top.
go. There was a desire to separate or distinguish the patio component to the landscape component. I think in the previous design, we had a brick, which I can go back to this. This brick was carried a lot, geez, sorry, this is very sensitive.
You have to talk to it nicely.
Yeah, sorry, it's the accent. There was the brick from the trellis that was carried along as a railing, which I think was, from a design perspective, maybe a little more heavy. So we've gone with this more light touch, but there is, as I said, from a two-part requirement. One, from a safety standpoint and an ADA standpoint, and then two, just really to separate the landscape component to the patio.
And I'll just add two pieces. One is that this is a fence element that exists on site today that's native to this Monterey style of architecture, and that we're effectively just picking up and taking with us. The brick, I think it's great, and it is on the floor for sure, but to be a sort of vertical element, as many of you mentioned, it was heavy, and we agreed and went back and revisited. And with regard to the height, we took it at effectively its minimum, but as Mick mentioned, the grade change, we had to meet code, unfortunately, but we kept it at the minimum that we could achieve there.
Okay, so then I'll bounce through the plans and we can go back to the renderings that maybe depict it a little better. But just looking at the things that changed, let me scroll through this now. So we'll focus on, maybe we'll start here. So the previous design had on this top right-hand corner, you can see the mouse, had an outdoor patio. That has since been removed. It was a planning issue ultimately. There's been a change to the patio to the southeast corner and changes to the windows on that facade, windows and doors. They were tenant-driven, and we can get into those plans in a little more detail, but it was really just based on the tenant layout, giving them a better perspective and better layout. And then the railing would be the one other thing that's changed that was previously brick and is now, as Joey said, the wood.
And just to elaborate a little bit, we think we have a tenant for that corner restaurant, which is great news and exciting news. And they've begun their design process. So instead of getting our project approved and then coming back and asking for different things, we just have incorporated what they're going to see. I think that it's pretty much, it's very much in line with the previous project, but it is a change, and we wanted to point it out.
Yeah, so the main change is really the entry point. Previously, we had one entry on the right-hand side, which we still have. But you can see their main entry doors to the restaurant, so they wanted to make this more deliberate entrance from a patio perspective. So that's been a slight change. Obviously, Courtney will go through the landscaping that's been changed because of that. And then again, we had an outdoor patio that almost took this triangle. Previously, now we are leaving it as is. It's a combination of planning and parking requirements, or restrictions, I should say. Otherwise, we jump to the elevations. I also think the restrooms were not previously detailed out in the last time we met. We just had block plans for them, but they've now been provided in detail, obviously interior finishes, but just a change to the deck. And then, we're getting there, sorry. So again, minor changes, but the elevations around that southeast tenant have changed based on the windows and their doors, based on their preferred layout. So the top is the existing, the below is the proposed. And again, only changes to that southeastern corner. Check my notes if there's anything else. That's actually it, to be honest, since last time. And again, sort of just showing that, from a plan perspective. Yeah. Thank you. It is, no, there it is. Yeah, you can see that. So again, very common, I think, and taking ultimately a note from what the existing facilities have today. Previously, we had a combination of the brick and then something similar to this. And then just from our renderings, so it's probably best to see here. So you can start to see that change. Previously, it was a more square, and again, we didn't have that entry point, which has been added. And then the windows and doors now are just reflective of the tenant's desire. And that is it from my side.
Courtney, will you take us through the landscape now?
Okay, Courtney Miller, CJMLA, landscape architect. See if I can find our plans. Yeah, here. Okay, so, you know, the changes since the last time we were here are pretty minor, as Mick and Joey have said. Mainly, you know, slight revision to the restaurant patio here, and then other than that, just the spec that we have for our permeable pavement has changed, so I'll go through that. Yeah. So we have more detailed planting plans as well, and I can go through that if anyone's curious. But generally, you know, the scope of what we're proposing is the same. And the idea, again, is to improve circulation and identify sort of these like more gardeny seating nook areas throughout the middle of the property. So this is the Dunlap fountain, and then we have existing Santa Barbara sandstone or maybe Cherokee Creek sandstone paving that we're hoping to kind of carve bits out of to introduce more planting throughout those areas. So this is intended to be a little bit more, you know, soft and kind of comfortable feeling in general.
Not mine, okay. Just making sure it was.
Mine is on sound.
The blue squares. Okay, so for our hardscape, the last time we were here, we presented this mortar wash idea, which we at the time thought would be a good way to help marry our new hardscape with what's existing. Well, you know, as we've dug further into this and developed the details, et cetera, we realized there's something somewhere between probably 3 and 5 different brick conditions on this property. So different colors, different ages, different joint widths and mortar and all of that. And we felt like, you know, it made a lot more sense from an aesthetic perspective to go in a different direction and have the new hardscape better match the other new materials, so that over time, there's more consistency, if that makes sense. And so with the color palette of what we're proposing, you know, throughout the whole project, planting, you know, all the building materials, hardscape, everything is intended to be pretty subdued and, you know, kind of muted tones. And so what we're proposing is an Angelus paver product. It's still going to be a brick shape, so 4x8, but the color is called Sandstone Mocha Blend. It's a blend. This image is the actual color. What we're going to do is tumble the pavers so they have a little bit more of an aged look, and it kicks back the kind of high chroma look of the pavers, so they have a little bit more of a muted tone, or patina. Thanks, Joey. So that's the intent. These pavers do have a gravel joint, so that is going to be different as well. The reason, you know, the other reason why we've made this change is HydroFlow is the only product on the market that has a paver that is truly permeable itself. So it doesn't require the gravel joints to be permeable. We use that product on almost every project that has any historic component or, wants to feel more traditional because it, obviously doesn't have the gravel joint. Well, we've been having some issues with that product. So they've changed a lot of things since the pandemic and how they're manufactured, and the quality is just not what it was. So we're still looking into that, but for now, I think the safer bet is to use something with a gravel joint. So that's what we're proposing here. And then, this hasn't changed. We have just much more detailed plans at this point. So I'll kind of quickly go through those, and then this is our planting plan set. So the area that was mentioned where we have the grade change up to 5 feet between the deck and the grade level. And it varies from here, actually from this corner all the way down. It gets higher right around this corner. So that took a lot of study to make sure this parking felt right. And, we have a little cantilever here with planting underneath to kind of obscure the wall that's holding up the deck. And I think that's all working really well now. So let's see. Oh, geez. Doesn't matter how many times I use this thing, it's still a challenge. Okay, restaurant patio. So, the configuration has slightly changed. I think previously we didn't have an entry here. We just had one here and then an exit point over here. So it's a little bit more direct into the space. And then we just have low planting proposed between that guardrail, which you saw, and the adjacent, this is the public sidewalk here. And I think in general, our plant palette has not changed. We're working with what's there, which is a kind of a collection of natives. There's some echium and, mostly like purple and silvery tones. And we're introducing some new water-wise species to go along with that. And lighting, this is our site lighting plan. Very minimal, we always take the most minimal approach here. So we have our fixtures on the right. This is our path light. We have some of these little hanging fixtures. This would be in a fountain. And I can share those details too, although I'm out of time, I guess. So we can cover that in questions. And then we just have some accent fixtures. This one in particular, I wanted to point out, we just have one of these, and it's here in front of what we think will be the directory sign. So it'll be aimed at the sign, not up into the sky. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now we'll go to public comment. Anyone in the room wishing to comment on this item? All right, not seeing anyone. To virtual.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. We currently do not have any virtual participants, and we did not receive any written correspondence, so I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, to the commission for questions.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drury.
the assumption that there's going to be a roundabout doesn't affect this project whatsoever, right? Stuff coming from under the railroad track going west on Cabrillo Boulevard.
Something we're very aware of, but does not
good.
affect the project.
Okay, thank you.
It goes right through the middle of the site.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Around the fountain.
That's right. All right, other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Butler.
So you referenced that the windows changed at the tenant's request. Can you share a little insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Need to use the microphone.
Sorry.
I could take it, Mike. They started to lay out their space. As the building owner, we can sort of look at a space and say, hey, what might someone do in here and how might they want to use it? As they've started to really draw up plans for their kitchen, for their seat layouts, they found that these set of windows worked better for them. And when we looked at them, we felt that they, comported with our general vision for the building and the sort of cadence of windows, so it seemed like something that we could work with. I wish it was more, it's as simple as that.
And I think sort of our original assumption was that we had how would I call it, a taller window. They have banquettes running along the perimeter, so the window would have been at someone's knee or feet specifically. So you can see, in that last elevation, they were raised up for the banquette. That would be, yeah, exactly under there. And then we had a larger opening in the middle, not thinking that that would be the main entrance that they have again. So they were the two main changes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jordan.
Just a question about parking. You're talking about restriping. Are we going to end up with more or less parking spots?
It's the exact same.
Exact same.
Yeah.
Will the restriping be the same? Are you going to change the width?
No, we're not changing the width.
So it's
Correct.
just restriping what's there, the same number. Okay, thank you.
I'll tie a question into here. Is there, and maybe we can look at an elevation that facade, that elevation. Yeah.
Sort of a tricky elevation. It's a combination of this elevation and this elevation. Next one, sorry, this elevation.
Okay, gotcha.
It's tricky, the way that the building is, the way the building elevates.
Okay, so was there a thought of separating the door from the window right next to it at all?
Let's see here.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
It's not a terrible comment. Do you know by chance?
Why separate?
Yeah, is it that close?
Yeah,
Based on
it's pretty close,
the
yeah.
floor plan?
Is there any reason it couldn't pull away from that door?
Well, the plans that the tenant sent are like really similar to those ones, so.
Yeah. I would have to check.
I'm just wondering if there was a function reason why it had to be smack up against the door.
Yeah,
Might just get it rendered also, let's go to the actual elevation.
this is it. No, this is it. That's the door.
So the idea is just to put a couple more,
And that's the door, yeah.
half a foot in between the door and the window.
Yeah.
So it doesn't blend into one thing.
Yeah, and it might be also part of the rendering, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there was a function thing that they had to have it there as opposed to 6
Not-
inches
not that
away
I
or a foot.
recall. Not that I recall.
And I don't mean to throw our tenants under the bus, but if you guys wanted them to move it over 6 inches to make it look better, just say it and we'll make them do
No,
it. It's fine, I don't mean to, don't tell them I said that.
Okay, it's recorded for the record. Commissioner Ludwig. Just tell them this meeting never happened, and then they won't look it up.
That coffee smells good. Is it,
It is-
what
it's
is
really
it?
good.
Is it chocolate in it?
It's a
or what?
latte, no. No, it's just, it was worth the
Was that a
wait.
question or a comment?
On that, on that elevation, my question is, why is the head height so high on the windows and doors on that elevation for the new windows and doors, as opposed to the head height that's existing?
I should also point out, I don't believe that the rendering above is, the elevation above is existing, it's just previously proposed. And the answer to the question is because they want to put a banquette below those windows.
They want
A banquette, so a bench, a seating area below. So what they want to do is not have you see someone's, yeah, sorry. Thank
Well, you could use a different sized window. I mean, it's a little strange right now, particularly with the window that's right on
Comment is
the,
that this doesn't align with this, correct?
yeah, and all the way across, all the way across.
We're rolling into comments here, but it'll keep me.
Well, it's a question. I mean, it's a little bit wrong. Thank you.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Isn't it?
Yeah, the short answer is to the extent that I think the commission understands that The objective of what we're trying to do is to provide seating there, and you want to move those windows around, we're open, 100% open.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Drury?
Yeah, so of that same bank of windows, the one closest to the right, furthest away on the right.
Go back up.
Wait, you mean for the shed roof?
Yeah, not-
Let's get back
Yeah,
to
with a
the-
shed roof.
This one?
Yeah, so of the four windows, that one is awfully close to the roof line.
On the corner there?
Yeah.
I think that may just be, it's not, I don't think you can actually install the window that way. I think that may just be
Bad drawing.
a bad drawing, but it's a difficult elevation because we don't have, we don't have.
It doesn't work structurally.
Yeah, exactly. God,
You do have room to manipulate.
Okay.
Don't you?
There we go. Good job. There. We got a question. There we go.
Tree obscures it, so
Yeah.
it's hard to see.
now I can zoom into that. Thank you, God.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Well, see, now actually, that looks like, the rendering looks like it's actually at the somewhat of a lower level.
Yeah, versus the elevation.
Yeah.
The problem is that that elevation isn't truly parallel elevation. It's picking up
Yeah,
that
it's obscure,
corner.
but the, as an elevation, the window header will still be true to your eave and your plate height. So even though it is obscured, your height is still gonna be measurable. And it's off, something's off, either the rendering's off or
They are.
or elevation's off in terms of, that, because that height, that shouldn't change as an elevation, even if you're oblique.
Like I was just looking at the windows, I think to address the first comment, we should be aligning with the existing, which is, it looks like from here, that line being existing is where we're lining up.
Yeah, but that's
think
not,
that-
that's not existing. Go up one drawing.
That's an existing window. The door's not existing.
So even along and we're bleeding into comments, but even along that, so that whole wall and plane has more space and is fine at that point.
Yeah.
As though that low plate on that low wall is what's causing the problem, I think, that
Yeah.
everyone's reacting to. So anyways, we'll get into comments with that, but we just want to make sure that that we understand all the considerations that were taken into it as we go forward. And I think it sounds like it was a plan-based decision to keep windows but have banquette, so just push them up and then, okay.
Chair Grumbine, while we're on that topic, could I add? Can we go back to that elevation, the one with the, yeah. So is it the intent, we see on the left side, this, the door, the singular door that's in the middle? To the left, right
this
there.
one?
Yeah, that door.
Yep.
Is that door, should that door be taller? It seems like it's not aligning.
That's the one that I think is
You think
actually
that's just a
off.
drafting
I
thing
think
that's
that's the one
off
that's
a
off,
little
because
bit?
this window's existing, everything else lines up. I think it's this door that's throwing it off.
Yeah, and if we look at the one above, you can see that it does align, so I think
correct.
it must be just a drafting thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
They're all on the same plane.
Correct, exactly. Yeah.
Well, they should show up anyway.
Well, actually, technically, they're not on the same plane.
No, they're different.
But no.
But they should all
But
align.
they're all, should be showing
I
the
think
same
it
height.
shows best in this elevation, which is an easier elevation to look at, but the intent is to have one height across all from the top end. If anything, the bottom is what changes based on the tenant requirement.
And also, is that at 6'8" or is it 7? What-
There's a measurement on the right side.
Not off
That
the
doesn't
window.
show the,
Oh, yes.
Maybe
Do we
there's-
have that
maybe there's
measurement?
I guess
another-
the door
The
schedule.
other
6'8",
elevation we were
6'8".
looking at before showed, I can see there are a lot more
Yeah, we have
dimensions.
the window and door schedule.
There you go.
Yeah, it might be better to have the
But
window
maybe
and door
the
schedule.
elevation
There's
below.
7/8 plate.
It's in the same set, the window and door schedule.
There you go.
There's 7/8 plate, so then, yeah.
So it's 7'8"?
The 7/8 is the plate on the right.
But
and
it
then
looks
there-
like it's.
Dimensions, the lower right there.
Foot in between.
Between,
Yeah,
no,
zoom in
only the
there.
new door. Well, as the new door is drawn, it looks like, I think the question was the new door that's on the left, called out as new door. The question was, how tall is that? And it looks like if the 7/8 is the plate on one side, that's probably in the 6'8" realm, yeah, okay.
So, just
least
to
as
be,
drawn.
just to be clear then, that's a new window there on the end, and since this shed is coming down so low, adding that window is pinching it up against that fascia board, right?
That's right.
So,
And then it also depends on what happens when you turn the corner and how those windows align, but also, it's not, that's more of an interior, looking out thing of whether it just drives you nuts or not, or whether you're.
so the other three windows are existing replaced, and that one is a new one? The one on the far end? Yeah, that one, yeah, okay, thanks.
Oh, so the other three that are right next to it are
Are existing.
existing, but they're higher. They've been-
No. What's existing on the building right now? It's a flat facade.
That looks like it right there.
Who's on first?
That's
Yeah.
existing.
That's existing.
Okay, there you go. That's
Yeah, and that looks like it's all 6'8".
Yeah, that's existing elevation.
Through me is the new door, the new windows
Yeah.
just pointing at one.
Yeah.
Okay,
all
so,
the windows
All
and
those
doors are
windows and
replaced.
doors are new. So
Okay, but
that-
they
that we're
are-
seeing, except for the little one that says existing window. There's one existing window in the lower elevation.
okay. Just to want to be clear, that the existing windows are at 6'8".
Or 7 feet, something like that.
Somewhere in there.
Well, if you look at
okay.
the above,
That's
if you look at the above and you extrapolate over, it's well below the
Yeah,
fascia
so
board. Whereas
approximately,
if
we'll
you
just
look
say-
at the
let's
one
just-
below, it's
Yeah, so let's
showing
just
it
say
higher.
existing is approximately 6'8". That's right. And then the proposed is approximately 8 feet.
And you want that higher because of the bench that's going to go. Is that
But the
correct?
windows could be shorter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be different breakup.
Whatever you guys want.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to, I actually, am looking at it, I'm not particularly fond of that far right window.
Everyone hates it.
Bad window.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments?
Question.
Or sorry, not comments,
Questions.
questions. Any other questions before we go
Chair.
into comments?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, just
Vice Chair House and then Commissioner Drury. Go ahead. We'll jump.
So I don't mean to beat a dead horse about the railing height,
Yeah.
but, you know, I hear you're saying that it's up to 5 feet difference between the deck level and the grade below, but I'm just not seeing that in the,
Yeah, so can you,
in the
can you
rendering.
show us what is,
Is there a section that shows that? My concern is that if you've got tables and chairs next to a 42-inch railing, it's up here, whereas a 36-inch, you know, is elbow height, so it's a lot more friendly. I mean, that just doesn't look like it's that far below the deck height,
I think,
but if it is, it is.
I know that was a comment at the last meeting, was a suggestion that we could grade it up in order to reduce the requirement for a guard, and it's not possible because of how close the sidewalk is.
Yeah, but I mean, is it the case that that rendering is way off? Because it looks like
The
grade is
front
just a little
rendering,
bit-
It's not on that corner.
this one, you're talking about here?
I'm not sure then where it is.
Yeah, so this rendering, see how it turns here?
Uh-huh.
It starts to pick up, or the grade starts to fall away somewhere in here.
Yeah, we have a section of that.
And to the right, yeah. But I want to show you the plan first before we look at the section, because the plan will show you the grading, I think. I'm pulling up the grading first, you guys. Can you just wait?
I actually have a question about the grade change as well, so after we.
So hopefully you can see underneath, this is the 12-foot contour line, 13, 14, 15. And so those come down here.
So what is the building at? 16,
1672.
16, almost 17?
16.
So your deck is running around there in terms of like, is it?
Finished.
I guess, is it?
It's gotta be the
that
same
finished?
for
Yeah, more or less.
There's no steps or anything, right?
And then you can see there's a, back a walk elevation, 11 and change here.
Well, if it is, it is.
So,
It's just that corner. The renders don't pick up that exact corner.
yeah.
Like it finishes there, yeah. probably
And then
right.
over here, you can see top of curb 12.2 feet, and then up to 13 here, and then on up.
And then it planes out over there.
So.
It planes
so
out over here.
The
Mhm.
question I would have is, anybody that's walking along there or sitting in a car looking through a windshield is going to be looking up at the underside of a deck.
They're going to be looking at plants. That was a really specific, and it's a great pickup, because we were saying, well, what's the experience of folks driving in on Los Patos and driving in, both from an aesthetic perspective from where you all sit, but frankly, from a commercial perspective where we all sit, you don't want something,
No.
it has to be beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think that.
So we got Oleander in there?
Yeah, Courtney and her team, they've done a very intentional job of programming that. And if you look at it now, it's a dirt mound. It's not particularly beautiful to look at. I think it'll be a
So
improvement.
the question is, what is planted along there?
There we have it.
Well, I know nothing about plants, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, they're plants.
Great question.
Green ones.
There are.
Bluish green.
All right, all right. So these grow 4 to 6 feet tall. So those will take up the height, they'll be about as tall as the deck is there on the corner. And then, these are Correa, those get about 3 feet. And this is where it kind of falls away. It goes, slopes up here. There's an existing tree. I think this corner, we need to switch out those agaves because those are not tall enough. But generally, that's the intent, is that, and as you're walking along the sidewalk or driving along the road, that there is some relief to the edge there.
Well, without our landscape architecture, I can't, I don't feel comfortable that I know that we're going to be shielding the view of the underside of that deck.
I am the landscape architect.
No, I mean, our
Oh.
guy who's never
What?
here.
Well,
I understand. You're working for the people that are in the restaurant wanting high windowsills. And so I gotta be careful about
Sure.
this.
I can tell you with certainty, though, that this, the height of the deck here is about 4 feet, a little over 4 feet, and that's how tall these will grow.
So you got two that are 2 foot in diameter by 4 feet tall.
No,
Concealing that whole strip of land.
They grow 4 to 6 feet
Wide.
tall and wide.
Mr. Chair.
So just a quick question on this.
But we're-
Back row, or the row of little guys
This-
there? What's going on with that?
So they're, good question. That's where we, oh, there this goes. That's where we have a little cantilever. So there's an existing retaining wall here, and that is a row of hedges, basically, that will obscure the retaining wall, and the deck overhangs that.
So those are plants under the deck.
There's plants under the deck here, that's this row, and then in front of that is something shorter that, can accommodate the car overhang. So it's, it is the most challenging part of this project site to, get all of that right. But I think we've done a great job, and
Okay, well, I have one more question. Can you scroll to that new entrance to the restaurant with the bad windows?
Pardon my
don't know
interruption,
if
Chair
I
Grumbine. Can you make
really-
sure your mic is on?
Sorry about that.
there we go. Oop, that one.
Yeah. So what is the difference in elevation change from,
Oh, darn it.
From that point.
from your plant schedule to,
I'll give up. There we go.
okay, so as you're walking down the sidewalk and then you hang a left to go into the restaurant and that new entry point, what level is that brickwork?
That's on grade.
It's all that grade.
It's
Yeah,
that
but what
grade.
is grade at that point?
Well, this is 16,
16.
17, and then, 18, sorry, 17, 16. So
And then what is the restaurant, that hardscape in front of the restaurant at?
here,
Yeah,
it'd be level with finished floor, which is, I don't know, 16.
okay, so it's all pretty much.
Flush.
Pretty much flush, okay, got it, okay, great. Any other questions?
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
follow up on that cantilever that was mentioned. So basically, there's a continuous concrete wall set back.
Existing concrete wall.
Existing, okay. And so what's the greatest amount of cantilever of the deck framing over that?
It's like a 1.5 feet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So there's not 5 feet of cantilever or dead space under there that's, okay,
No, I think it's 2 feet.
okay.
2.5.
All right. Other questions?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Commissioner Ensberg?
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. Can you go through the paving materials again? Just kind of run through that to help us understand which ones are where. And I also was curious about this blue sort of wavy pattern that we see in the landscape.
Splash pad.
So I don't, those are two different questions, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find our overall plan, and that will help describe it. So the existing condition is lots of different types of brick and flagstone paving. And I can point those out. So the flagstone through here, that's existing to remain.
Right.
And we're carving out these planting areas, you know, within the, you know, all those green areas are where we're going to be removing stones. And then, you know, this, everywhere that you see this pale solid color, that's existing brick to remain.
Okay.
All different patterns and, you know, conditions, colors. And then where you have this, I don't know what to call that hatch,
Gray.
herringbone, you know, brownish color, that's new permeable paving. And I'll show you the materials again. And then here we have proposed new wood decking.
Elevated wood deck.
Okay, great. And then that blue swirly thing?
The blue swirly is a ground cover. It's just a hatch.
Oh, okay, okay.
That represents a ground cover, low growing. I can tell you the specific plant
Oh, no,
if
that's
you'd
okay.
like.
And it's swirly.
And it
Swirly.
swirls.
And then what is the light fixture finish?
Dark bronze or, what's the other one? Light fixture finish?
Polished chrome.
Antique bronze, dark bronze for all of them.
Okay. And the,
While you're doing that,
Oh.
go ahead.
back to the plan again, please, in that, the new patio or the new restaurant area and that entry piece, where you added that new entry, where it kind of curves back. What was your, maybe you could talk a little bit more about the proportions of that and how it was you came to that particular shape and width and depth extending into the patio area, and what are the squares at the end that terminate? If you could maybe just talk about how you came to that particular configuration and design. I know you said that and it looked like there was a gate there too. I thought I saw in one of the other drawings that there's a double gate. Or maybe maybe I didn't see right, but anyway.
To be helpful there, that the sort of squared off pieces are again just echoing that same Monterey style that exists on the property. And the answer on the geometry was again driven by how the restaurant wants to seat folks and the desire to have intimate, enclosed seating in a banquette style, again, mimicked on both the interior and the exterior. So it sort of envelops you and brings you in, was the thinking.
So out here, outside, there would be banquettes on here somehow?
Yeah, or banquette style seating.
Okay.
So while we're on here, because I actually had a similar question, to that, the pickets, and isn't a separate detail I saw, but it's not, I just want to confirm that they're matching the existing. They're like 1 inch by 1.5 inches nominal, it looks like, because they were 3/4 by 1 1/4, I think. Is that what's existing right now in terms of the pickets for this thing, for the handrail?
In terms of, sorry, like, is the existing 1.5 inches?
Yeah, is it a 1 by 1.5 or whatever? It's because it looks like you got the actual dimensions 3/4. Oh, no, 1 1/4 inch. I see, by 3, okay. So it's 1 1/4 square?
Yeah, correct. The picket itself.
Yeah, so it's like basically a 2 by 2-ish? Okay. Okay, that's matching existing, I'm assuming. Okay, good. I thought it was by 3/4. I thought that was odd, so, okay.
I have a, okay.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Chair.
and actually, sorry, one more thing on that, on the shape of it. You're sort of curving, sort of putting a square in square in a round hole in terms of trying to get this geometry to work. Is there anywhere else in the site where you curve the railing? Because
No,
it,
just at
it's just that point? And was there any thought on not curving it, but making it or more faceted? It seems like it's fighting the geometry, but.
It kind of is faceted now.
Well, it's multifaceted, but to like mimic a curve.
To be honest, like I don't feel as strongly about that. I think it's like engaging and intimate and nice, but I don't feel it's like an amazing detail that we have to keep. And I totally am empathetic to the notion that there's like not other curving fences. It doesn't bother me particularly, but I'm not wedded to it either if it's important to you guys.
Okay.
My question,
Hold on.
I don't
we
have a
had,
good argument for why to do it.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was wondering. So I think we.
I had,
you
I had
did-
one more that I
okay.
just wanted
And then we'll
to,
go to Commissioner Lenvik. Did you have a question or no?
No.
No, okay, then Commissioner Lenvik.
oh, yeah, the arbor with the brick, it seems like you kind of gone a different direction, you took a lot of brick away. You had formerly you had the low brick. So I was wondering if you've been concerned or thinking about, as columns now that you don't have those other brick elements to tie into. Could you talk about that a little bit?
I can talk in depth about it because we looked at like 100 models of it. I think that the thinking was, because we looked at making it out of wood, because it was like, hey, it's sort of like weird that it's like not an alien, certainly not alien, there's a ton of brick on the site, but like vertically, is that the appropriate thing? And we just looked at it, and the truth is, I forget, Mick had some colloquialism that I hadn't heard previously, but the way he described it was appropriate. It was just, let's say, dinky. And even when we beefed up the size of the wood, it didn't feel an appropriate entrance. What's nice about the brick is it's on the ground everywhere, and then it sort of comes up in these very specific spots to let folks know, hey, this is the entrance. But we studied it in depth. I think it's a
Okay.
great point. I felt the exact same way. But this is where we ended up. And I was excited. I said, oh, we get to save some money by not using it. And then we ended up with the more expensive thing. To propose to you guys, at least. We felt that it was appropriate for the presence of what we were trying to create.
Okay.
But it's something we studied in depth.
Okay, great. And then my last question, I promise. So,
You don't have to go to 6.
oh, okay, but no, but this is also tied into that, like and I don't recall, but my recollection of this building is that it's like board and bat and wood, and it's just a lot of wood. So the white areas that we're seeing, is that how it is right now? Or is that,
That's stucco currently.
it's stucco?
Yeah.
Okay, and okay. So did you think about the columns maybe being stucco? Just stuccoing the existing brick possibly?
it just, frankly, we looked at it a bunch of different ways. Painted wood, painted wood looked like stucco to us in our studies. It didn't have the presence, and like the same reason that we, at the last commission hearing, went away from brick everywhere was the heft. It was important to have some heft at that entrance, but like, it's all subjective, but it's something we thought quite a bit about, though.
Okay,
But I think it's an excellent point.
All right.
Very good.
Commissioner
Thank
Lenvik,
you.
And then we'll wrap up
Yeah, we're
questions and roll into
kind
comments.
of getting into comments. I think that one of the problems with that entry trellis element is that its proportions are weird. It's too tall. If it was down 2 or 3 feet and you walk through something which was more intimate and then up into the big space of the whatever, you might find that that was more comfortable and it would be less dinky columns, question mark. My real question was, on this restaurant, we're talking about this door that's off the street, more or less. That isn't your main entry into the restaurant. The main entry is the double doors that are more in towards off the interior courtyard, I believe.
The design and desire of the restaurant is to have, I think, both of them available for entry. And
Really?
the idea with this, I mean, frankly, for me, the whole plan is about taking something that's like lovely and opening access. So I do strongly believe that folks are going to come park or maybe ride their bikes and park right there because it's right on Cabrillo, and then walk the entire building. So I think that they would use that entrance just as much as they'd use the other. That was their, and the restaurateur's opinion
So
as
my
well.
name is going to be at both locations.
Huh?
Want to make a reservation?
Yeah, yes.
I mean,
you guys-
seriously, to me, operationally, it doesn't make sense to have two maitre d' stations.
I actually think that is going to be their main door, is where they're anticipating it.
Even though the other one is a double door.
Even though the other one is a double door.
Yeah, I don't care.
And there'll only be one maitre d' that
You can just go in
see.
the other double
Yeah,
door. in.
whatever they want to do, they can do it.
Okay.
You go in whatever door you want.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any last questions before we go into comments? All right, so let's roll into comments. We'll go quickly through, give everyone a shot at it, and then we'll see if we can close things off before 4.
Mr. Chair,
All right?
maybe we'll just go
Yeah,
this way.
let's do it. Commissioner Butler.
All right, so I really think you need to restudy the whole tenant window side of that building. My first thought when you brought up, and my question was, tenants change. It may not always be a restaurant. And I really think the building is what will survive. The building is what the design should reflect. So I would encourage you to restudy that, the windows, the doors, this recent discussion about 2 main entrances, et cetera. Also, the curving railing pulling into the decking area, et cetera. I think it's too deep, et cetera. So I really think you need to take another shot at, I appreciate the need to support your tenant. On the other hand, it's the building that will be there as tenants change. So that was really my just one strong takeaway. That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Jordan?
I would repeat that comment, that east elevation of Building 1 needs to be rethought. That's it.
I will also repeat those comments, but I will throw in my comment about that entry element. I mean, I do like it being brick because I think it announces this is an entry. I don't know how tall it is to underside of that sign right now. It seems like if it were a bunch lower, people could be jumping up and whacking the thing or hitting their heads. It may be a little too tall proportionally, but I don't have a big problem with it. So it's just another thing to restudy.
Okay. Commissioner Early?
I generally like what you've done with respect to those columns. Putting a base on the column and a column cap may help to reduce the visual height of it, but not actually reduce the height at all. I don't have any problem with what you're doing on the restaurant side. Stuff is temporal. It feels good to me. That one window that pinches the fascia is a problem, but once you get into working drawings, you got to solve that problem anyway. So I think it's going to solve itself. But generally, I like what you've done.
All right. Commissioner Lenvik?
Yeah, bring up the north elevation, please. You're drawing, whatever it is, A3, 8.3, A8.3. I look at the windows, the new windows on the north elevation, and even well, right, yeah, you're go back where you were.
going up.
You were there.
I think, did you say A3?
That one.
Yeah, right there. So I look at that lower elevation, the right bank of windows, and again, to me, it seems.
Sorry, the lower.
The center bank of windows?
Yeah, whatever. It's one. It's. No, to the left. The row.
Okay.
That row.
The other right.
Yeah, the other right.
Yeah, the other right. I don't have a good relationship between right and left. I think it seems like a huge span and too long to really be, realized by the structural engineer. And so I think you've got to find, get some input from your structural engineer, whatever, but it's just an awful long span and some wall in, or bigger columns or whatever in that span of windows would be I think, a nice resolution to that. And then I go down to the south elevation, and I think you simply have a drafting issue in the south elevation. Keep going. South elevation of building 4.
West.
I mean, you got the same problem with those windows right there. Again, I don't know how you're spanning that, but go to the south elevation of building 4 and.
Of building 4?
No, no, down more.
I think there's other, what's the sheet number?
Well, it would be A 8.5
Yeah, looks like 5.5.
or 5.5, whatever it is. 8.5.
Sorry, it's is this it?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind, sorry.
No,
One more.
one more. Right there, right, yeah, it's fine. That upper window on the left this time, drafting wise, you've eliminated the cut-ups. It's just a drafting issue.
I see.
Yeah, so the cut-ups need to be in there as well. But I think that a number of locations you've got.
Is this the span issue too?
Yeah, in a number of locations, you got this huge span of windows, and structurally, it doesn't work. And so you might as well make it real, and it'll look better when it's made real. I mean, it'll look better.
Yeah. All right, any other comments?
No, I'm through now.
Okay.
I'm gonna go home.
No, not yet. Commissioner Drury.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Commissioner Ansbridge.
Okay, I pretty much agree with what everyone else has said. I think, I wanted to, that entry to the patio, I think that is, it just feels kind of awkward. And I think it should be maybe a little narrower, more in proportion, you know, you want to find the perfect that feels comfortable but not too big, and it feels a little bit too big to me and too deep. So, and I'm not, and then the shape too. So, just take a look at that. And then back to the brick columns and that
Entry.
the entry. I would suggest leaving it the height that it is, but maybe, is that already a roof on there already? You're keeping that roof, or is that, or the trellis part of it?
Existing trellis.
Oh, okay. Because it sure would be nice if they could,
The material's existing, but the location's different. So we're retaining the existing trellis material, but relocating it to the new location.
okay. Well, I was just thinking if it had more of an overhang, I think it would be more interesting. It's a little too tight to the columns, in my mind. I think if it would be more elegant if it went
If it
further out.
extended further?
Yeah,
the
like
beams
maybe
and
even,
the-
2 feet or
across.
something. And also, I do think that if it were, I mean, I don't mind it, I'm just offering this as, if the brick was plastered and be white, I think that would be a nice contrast with the wood above if it had the greater overhang, and I think it would be really nice with the light fixtures that you have, because the white would really reflect the light more and really pull you in. So I think, even though I don't object to the brick, I think you might be benefited and be pretty easy to stucco it. So that was that comment. And then I think, oh yeah, the windows, I was just going to say on our windows, the one where the roof comes down and the 4 windows, you could maybe consider, well, everything needs to align. I think we've all mentioned that. But maybe the 4 windows can just be narrower, just make them all narrower, but you could have the same kind of idea, but just shrink them down so that you have space to meet your height and all that.
Is it possible, and I don't mean to overstep, a number of folks said reconsider. Is there any specific feedback that maybe we could take and try and improve, or we're happy to also just give it a shot also, no
Yeah.
problem. But
We usually say add poetry.
yeah, it sounds like it sounds like it's just it's not in cadence and it's too tight, especially on that other side.
Yeah.
And let's not let the form drive the function.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also
so I
what
think-
Commissioner Lenvik said too, I think, those big long, if you broke that up, have 6, so 2, 4, 6, and you put columns or the visual there, I think that's what Commissioner Lenvik was getting to, and I think that is right. I think that would really help it. So maybe just looking at all of those things, getting everything aligned up properly, you know, the 6, 8, or 7, whatever it is, and then just keeping everything away so it's not pinching up against the roof or whatever.
And so part of it is going to be, part of the challenge is, and we'll add some comments of suggested, like, things to study, but part of it is in that study, it's going to be part of that wrestling match of the design. So, yeah, so I think in the, some of the summaries, I think we'll be able to get at least some general direction to look at, but if you study it, and sometimes we'll say, we'll have an idea, and it's, you know, it's one thing to have an idea, and then you go and draw it, and then you're like, yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
We're reacting to, it's just a lot on one element. I mean, look, for me, and I just want to be specific about what I'm hearing, listen, we have a structural engineer. We're going to build what's possible, obviously. The east elevation where the restaurant is, I don't disagree at all with the comments, and we're, I think I understand what to do.
Why don't, I'll take a shot at my comments at the end here. I'll try to be a little more, I'll try to tie this together for you, because I have some additional ones, and I have some comments on those comments too that might be a little bit helpful in terms of direction, and then if you're still questioning, then we can go from there.
I think that that if you're looking for an argument, your big span of windows, you're taking out several little ones that are in the wall. You're going to put in a big span. That's going to be a steel beam. That's going to be steel columns. It's going to be digging out and putting in big foundations. It's going to be probably having to put additional shear panels on the walls. So what could be a simple solution of some columns every pair of windows or whatever, and it's going to cost you $10,000 to do that, all of a sudden it's going to become $50,000 to steel beam and whatever. So the argument isn't all aesthetics. It is aesthetics from our standpoint, but if you look at the costs of what you're proposing structurally versus what we're suggesting, you're going to find that you're going to come out of this thing ahead. Yeah, I mean, that's the case 4 or 5 places around the wall.
And actually, so tied to that, and this is what one of the comments I was going to jump into is, so it's a language thing too, right?
Yep.
So if this is a barn and an adobe, right, or in some sort of, that's sort of the story or whatever, a barn would never have a span that big, because what would you do it with? You take a whole tree to like try to get that header to work, and then you're also weak on your corners. So traditional forms tend to have breakups at a much more regular and not giant span, because they don't have steel to overpower everything, right? So the language of opening and closing and, you know, wall and or post and opening has a certain read and feel that you'll get, and you'll also be practically, it'll be less expensive usually. And the deflection and depending on how your doors and everything works. So, but the practical aspect is good, but from the aesthetic point of view, the language point of view, I would argue that goes for like trying to at least have the same head height of your openings. It's not always the case, but usually it's the case that openings tend to align in these traditional languages, and there's not kind of things jumping all over the place. You have an eave condition where, you know, you have gables going on, so sometimes when the gable comes down low, your window or door has a lower head height than the things on the gable wall sometimes, but usually they still try to keep those things consistent. So language-wise, I think that's part of the reactions that you've heard has been from noticing this discrepancy of the offness. So I'll roll into my comments, and if we can go to the elevation, just start scrolling through.
But I have a question, if I could.
Sure.
Is that your design intent to more contemporize this project, or to feel more traditional? Because that would help answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the answer is, I mean, and I should just point out that nothing on the windows has changed. We've sort of felt that way from the beginning, that we wanted to have a series, and they're wood windows, if memory serves, of traditional materials, but to try and just open up some new spans, which we just thought were attractive. And it's funny because as opposed to a brand new project, this is an existing building that we're maybe just opening some different things on. So I guess, frankly, I wasn't as sensitive to the notion of narrative. I was just like, what would be an aesthetically pleasing thing to do? And on that corner, instead of having it, you know, closed or a series of small openings, having a big opening felt like really welcome to us. But the short answer is, like, I know it sounds a little hacked, but like, we really just wanted to have a light touch with the building and let it be what it's been. It was built beautifully. But because we're opening that walkway, all of a sudden, instead of that being the back of the building, that starts to be the front. So we had to be sensitive to trying to open it up and make it welcoming, but we don't want it to feel particularly modern or contemporary.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think along that point, that's good, I think that you don't, because then it's in EPV, and so you gotta basically work with either Spanish Colonial Revival or the language of the buildings. So, and in that language, and which are traditional languages usually, but even when we have modern structures that are, 60s, 70s, 80s within it, whatever, but we can say, part of our rules of engagement are that if it's a different language and it's in the EPV and you're working with it, then you got to stay within that language kind of thing. So I think the extremely horizontal, large openings, while being inviting and aesthetically it might be nicer in that sense, in the sense of the language, it doesn't, yeah. So then the trick is, how much can you open it up and get it to be inviting, but just in a more traditional of its language way. So, okay, so let's roll through and I'll try to wrap my comments. I agree with the other comments made, but I want to try to get a little bit more specific on the elevations just so that we can give some good, clear feedback, and then we can go from there and see where things go. So if we can go to the elevations, and maybe just stop at the top of the elevations, we'll just scroll through them fairly quickly, and I'll maybe make commentary, and then, but when we go to summarize, we're just going to summarize what the comments are, and not all these individual little things. Okay, so like this elevation, existing south, and then proposed south. So this looks pretty good in terms of openings and all those things. We can go to the next. So this one seems a little large in terms of the width of that big opening and the proposed west elevation. It's a pretty, and I noticed on the rendering, it's a pretty big span. Maybe there's a way of even dividing within the big opening, having some posts come down or something.
Chair Grumbine?
Yeah.
Specifically to that one.
Yep.
I think the width isn't always, the more isn't always better.
Yeah.
So less might make it more mysterious, more interesting from the outside if you're not seeing completely, it's just wide open. And also you might end up having like art or something else on the wall. So you want to leave space on those ends for maybe something on the interior design that might happen. So I just wanted to make that comment too.
No, I could see like even either squeezing or removing the two panels and having larger corner panels, or tightening them up and having a chunk of 1 foot wall in between three pairs of doors or whatever it is. So you still open, but it's, yeah, so then there's a lot of other things that, like Commissioner Ensberg said, that are good in consideration. All right, and we'll keep moving through here. So then this, we've talked about it, it's been lifted up, maybe keep it down low, maybe change your window sizes to get it to work. Maybe it is the one that bumps up a little bit, but not as much as you have it. And then get that window away from the door, because it is also a different type of move.
And also on that particular window, maybe that window can go away.
Yeah.
The one to the right of the door,
Functionally,
just
maybe
lose
those
it.
other windows slide over.
And then you
you
got
actually might have
another
enough.
place for artwork or something else, so.
And then alignment of the other door with wherever the windows land. Okay, let's go to the next. Per Commissioner Lenvick's comment on this, breaking it up again, just so break it up, you can still have a heck of a lot of glazing there, just have it with something solid or in some way. And then I see the other thing is, what's a little bit weird is so sort of think of solids and voids and weight. So you have this big almost two-story flat wall, and you would imagine that all the weight would come down, and it comes down a void of the corner there. So if you scooted that opening in a little bit, it would visually come down on a solid, which makes visual structural sense. So tightening that over to give it a little.
I'm sorry, that's the back of the restaurant. Inside, facing inside the courtyard. Inside the courtyard.
That's where the priest did west.
Yeah, it's the back. Look at the parking lot. Yeah, that's easy. I don't disagree at all.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next. This in general looks pretty good although the roof is covering, so I'm not sure if that is actually, the doors are actually ending before the windows or not, or if that's just yeah, whether it's just clipping it or not, but they should align. It is smashed against, which isn't the greatest. If there was a way of spacing off, so you got a little bit of wall between the doors and the windows, that would probably be ideal. So just giving it a little more of that traditional wall. It's the same condition as on the other side. All right, let's go to the next. Yeah, so similar, super large, maybe break it in two or break it in some other way that you have some wall or posts between.
The trellis is big, so you walk through the trellis and it's the building on the left-hand side. And you upstairs, they go upstairs.
Saving you money.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm on the best but I don't disagree.
Yeah. Okay. So those are just sort of as quick direction. Those are some, and those are pretty simple and minor. So I'll summarize the other comments, and then we can see where we want to go for it. This is before us for project design approval. Okay. So the other comments were to adjust the plan, and I'm trying to kind of summarize. So jump in if you want it summarized a different way. So one is to adjust. So I would say the first comment is thank you for your listening and studying and coming back to us with this. We think this is definitely improving and definitely going in the right direction and getting there. So
Pardon my interruption, Mr. Chair. If I can just suggest that you go through the comments and at the very end, the other commissioners can jump in with any edits or amendments,
Okay.
just so it's clear
yeah,
for staff.
that's true. It'll be 6 before we finish. Okay, sounds good. All right. So so one is it was adjusting and or continuing to tweak study the plants and making sure that they're going to cover the deck. So whatever those plant selections are, and making sure that they're going to cover the underside, especially of the deck at the parking lot. So regarding the entry element, there was lots of different discussion. I think from my point of view for a minute, I think as you've designed it is nice, it's good, it works, and I think in general most commissioners were supportive of it enough. The comments of making it a little bit better would be study, again, this is the study part, but study over a larger overhang, potentially going to plaster for the piers. Also, if you're a brick, to look at doing like a brick capital of some sort, some delineation of capital and base. Those were all two study suggestions to make it even better. Let's see. And also study slightly lowering the element as well as was one of the comments. Let's see. So then the window adjustments window and door adjustments in general, the openings to be not as the largest openings to be broken up so that they are more traditional in proportion and size, and that where the head height of the doors and windows to be aligned on elevations. And in particular on actually we talked about all the different elevations. So I think and we know about the worst offender too, the one that goes into the corner. Okay, and then, yep. So restudy the entry to the new entry to the restaurant, the fence along it, and to make the facets of the faceting and turning of the fence to be more typical throughout the site, and less curving. Let's see. These are all elevation comments. So, in general, everything else that we looked at, the materials of hardscape and those directions everyone seemed to be okay with those.
Yes.
Yeah. So the landscape hardscape plan as proposed is supportable in general. Now with all these things, so now those are the summary of the comments. Any more comments? Everyone good with that? Changes? Yeah.
Yes, Chair Grumbine, I wanted to just say, just kind of to help in the thinking about it, when you think like of a barn, go to the Midwest and look at a barn and see they do everything the most simple, you know, they aren't going to spend anything extra. So that's, I think that just kind of thinking in that way you know, making pinching down those, you can still have a big opening, but just making the sides and expressing so that you can see the structure coming through, that it's very obvious. So I just wanted to throw that out there to just kind of, as you're thinking about it.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
And then Vice Chair House.
I think also that we should ask the applicant when he comes back. I see a lot of restaurants, a number of restaurants in the plan. And I have to apologize because the one that I was thinking had two access points doesn't. That restaurant's only on the access. Yeah, no, you're right. But what I have is you have a number of restaurants along there, which means a lot of equipment on the roof. And we'll want to see that equipment before we give a final approval. We want to make sure that we know it's there, you know, where the orders are coming from, so on and so forth.
It's not shown on the plans, we can when we come back. We have an equipment well ultimately above the bathrooms. So all of the equipment will not be visible. It'll be within the building. And then there's a chimney that comes through that will be the exhaust.
So those are new bathrooms?
Correct.
And so there'll be a new well being built?
Correct. There's the new bathrooms, the ceiling of the bathrooms will be built structurally to house the mechanical equipment.
And there are 2 contemplated restaurants.
Well, those things are of concern to us.
Yeah. So the comment is to make sure, to study the equipment, especially the restaurant equipment, and how it will be screened. Okay, any other comments we want to add to? Yes, Vice Chair House.
Yeah, regarding the curved railing, I personally don't have a problem with it, but I think it either needs to be more angular or more curved. It's just kind of a faceted curve right now. And so the posts could be more frequent, so it feels more curved. And you have a pretty wide cap rail, so that could actually be shaped out of wider planks, so it does actually curve. But I don't have a problem with it being different than other places on the site. I think that bit of whimsy or uniqueness is nice.
Okay, well, that's one commissioner vote.
Well, I agree with him.
Okay, that's 2. You got.
I agree with him.
That's going to be important to see, because you're going to have you probably have a split vote on it.
Can we
Chair
request a
Grumman,
vote on that?
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to say that I agree with what Commissioner House has said, that would be an improvement. I was more concerned about just the width and the depth of that entry and how it felt. It feels a little bit like just too big.
Did you already say to study the width of the
Yeah, but I wanted in conjunction with
We'll
what
make
you
sure
just
to add
said.
width into that, the entry study.
Yeah. So, thank
Okay,
you.
so we can do a little straw vote.
What's the straw vote for?
Because they asked for curve.
I think whatever they come up with, you know.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll let you guys, come up with something. You can come up with whatever dumb idea you want.
You have 2 straws anyway.
Yeah, no, totally. I could be the lone person that hates the curved railing. Okay, so any other
Straw vote.
any other comments to add? So my personal opinion on this is that these are all very minor tweaks to openings for the most part, and minor things, and that is appropriate to continue to be refined in as they go forward and coming back for final approval. So it seems like all the major moves we're okay with so far.
Yeah, I think PDA is appropriate for today.
Yeah, okay. So do you want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, for project design approval?
Second.
Yeah, you do. Okay. So
Second.
Want to pull, and do you want to make it with the comments?
With the comments espoused by the chair.
And the various compatibility findings he's going to go through.
Yeah. Waiting. That's okay. So the project is consistent with the design guidelines, and it is compatible with the architectural character of the city and the neighborhood. Size, mass, bulk, height, and scale are not changed from the existing, so that is appropriate. It's sensitive to adjacent landmarks and historic resources to the extent there are any nearby. public views of the ocean and mountains are not affected, and the use of the open space and landscaping is appropriate.
All right, and seconder, good with all that?
I am good with all of that.
All right, under discussion, any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, just a quick comment. I am supportive of the motion because I feel that there are major aspects of the plan that are fixed and we agree on, but we also have quite a detailed list for when it comes back, so that this has been a fruitful conversation for us in terms of having a very detailed list of things to look at the next time. But I am supportive.
Okay, great. Thanks for the comments. Any other comments? All right, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorden,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lundvik,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
and Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And thank you all.
And thank you. And you've got 10-day, this action is appealable within 10 days to City Council. All right. All right, nice work. All right, and the meeting is adjourned.